Alrighty, we're live.
We are live.
We are.
Who do we have, Chappie?
We have Jess and Greg Stone from GoRuffly.com. And Jess is going to be very soon going on a round the world trip and visiting all the girl ups. And you're actually doing a fundraiser to try and help that organization.
Yeah, we sure are. So we are doing an around the world trip to raise $100,000 for the organization Girl Up. And for those who don't know, Girl Up, it was founded by the United Nations Foundation. And what they do is they provide leadership and advocacy training to girls all around the world in over 120 countries, and they've helped over 90,000 girls around the world. So it's this really awesome organization where they have these Girl Up clubs, and during the around the world trip, we get to visit the Girl Up clubs as we go along.
That sounds amazing.
Sounds like a great cause. And when you say we, there's three of you you're talking about. Is that correct?
There are three. There sure are. So I will be riding with my 75-pound German Shepard, Moxie, on the back of my bike in her K9 Moto Cockpit, which is a motorcycle dog carrier for medium and large-sized dogs that we at Ruffly manufacture. So we will be basically showing off our carrier as we go around. And Greg is also coming along. Greg is going to need to carry all of our camping gear so that we can camp along the way. So I get the dog and Greg gets all of the camping gear.
I get to schlep.
Sort of like a pack mule.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Exactly.
That was actually my question. How do you break up who carries what? And I knew you get Moxie, so.
I get Moxie. I get all of Moxie's stuff. So one of the big questions that we always get about Moxie is about her food, right? Because like when you change a dog's food, their stomach normally can't handle it very well. So what we try to do when we go on these trips, which we've been practicing for a while now, is I'll take like maybe 3 or 4 days worth of kibble, and I'll put it in a kibble bag, and I'll have that in my pannier tank bags in the front of my bike. And then as we get into another country or there's a place where we don't have the same type of food, I will slowly start introducing that food. I'll mix it up for 3 or 4 days for a kibble that she's already used to. And then that'll sort of help with her system.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and to be honest, Moxie, like, she eats everything.
I have been
Well,
training
that's
her
good.
off of the dinner table for several years now, so I think she's got one of those stomachs where she could eat nails and poop out a crowbar, basically.
Sure.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm guilty
So Moxie
too.
does really well with like the different types of places that we've been. So we're obviously here in Guatemala, where we've been for the last 5 years now.
Yeah, and
A little
that's
bit
where
over.
we'll start the trip.
That's where we'll start the trip. And Moxie is also from here. So I didn't have a dog before all of this and always wanted one. And when we got here, we came from New Orleans. We were living in New Orleans. And we came down here, and we came down because Greg had a job working with a nonprofit. So we really loved it
nice.
here, where we had come here before in the past. And finally, we said, okay, we're going to stay here for a bit. So I think it's time for me to get a dog, because I've always wanted one, but traveled so much, lived overseas for so many years, but never really felt like I'd be a responsible pet owner if I had a dog and couldn't take it along. So
And your only form of transportation was
Was a
two wheels, so that posed its own challenges, of course.
Exactly. So when we got here, Greg said, okay, let's go ahead. And there happened to be an American guy here who lived across the lake from us, and he had brought his 2 Shepards from the States, and he was breeding them, and this was the first litter of these 2. And when I saw that he was advertising for them, I said, this is what I want. I've always wanted a big dog, big enough like a Newfoundlander-sized dog, but we sized down.
So again, her only form of transportation is 2 wheels, and she was going as big as she possibly could.
Of
into
course.
the
Right.
beast.
I love it. All in.
Yep. And so the parents, Moxie's parents, are One is over 100 pounds, and the mother is probably about 80 pounds. And Moxie was like she was a bit of the runt of the litter. Like, we saw all of the puppies, and she was the smallest one. And she was the most submissive, and we thought, okay, this would be good. She tricked us.
Yes.
She is not the most submissive. She is probably the most dominant out of all of us.
She is an alpha gunslinger for sure. But at least, like, we consider ourselves hugely lucky that she came in about 75 or so pounds. So that's, like, as far as big dogs go, at least it's not enormous.
Yeah, we call her a teacup shepherd.
A teacup
It's
shepherd.
still big, though. Wow.
Yeah, it's a big dog.
Yes. I've seen some of your videos. She looks so happy on the back of that bike.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
it's-
like, it was, so we started with her when she was, what, 6 months old?
No, it was more like a year,
year?
I think, by the time
Yeah.
we kind of got our act together, you know, all the different trials and testing and build something and, you know, that didn't work, come up with a new design and finally sort of mounted it and did our test runs. But really, like, because we get that question a lot, like, how am I going to know, is my dog going to like riding, you know? And, I mean, at the end of the day, like, there's really nothing about it that the dog doesn't like. It's almost like motorcycling was made for dogs. I mean, it sounds silly, but it sights, it sounds, it smells, you know, in the same way they love putting their heads out the window. So they're getting all of that right there, you know, in front of them. It's just a question of sort of getting them accustomed to getting onto the bike, getting into their carrier, and then they sort of, what we tend to find actually is a lot of dogs like leaping up onto the bike when they were not asked to. So you got to be careful that you got a sturdy center, you know, side stand.
I can totally see that because my dog, it's a Siberian Husky, and watches your videos, like looking at me like, when are we getting this? But he will sleep by my dirt bikes or by my bike, and he loves like single track hiking. So I'm thinking, my worry is the goggles. That's the only thing.
Yeah, so the goggles that we have for Moxie, they're really good. But like anything, like, the dog doesn't really enjoy having all of that stuff on their face, or, you know, like, a dog wants to be a dog, and Moxie is clearly one of them. So at slow speeds, if we're in traffic or if it's hot and when we're riding really slow, she'll nudge on me. She'll want them off. But she, I think, has learned that when we go at speed, it's way better for her, because then she can peek out around me. She can look without anything getting into her eyes. So they really, like, I think that they learn that it's good to have them on at high speeds.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, like, because, you know, the safety aspect is the other question, of course, that comes up, and we all as responsible dog owners care about immensely. And I mean, really, like, it comes down to strapping them in. And there's, like, plenty of back and forth online and in the forums and everything about should your dog be free or strapped in. And we are very clearly, from our sort of investigations and testing and so forth, on the side of strap them in. Plenty about that on our site if you want to dig into it. But and then the other thing is the eye protection, because the only sort of riding injury that I would say Moxie's ever had is an eye infection, is some eye, we call it the eye snots.
Oh yeah.
Where she gets discharged from her eyes because of all of the wind and the debris. And that happened one time. Were we in Mexico or somewhere?
We
and
were
we were riding
in Belize, I think,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
like we just got lazy one time. Well, we're only going a small ways at slow speed, and then, you know, by the end of the day, we were seeing discharge.
and we
like,
brought her to the vet, and then
That was
eye
it.
drops, and since then we always have it on.
and no problems. Yeah, so those are, like, that's the key, you know. And yeah, they don't ultimately love the goggles in most cases.
No,
but
it's like a dog
they get
doesn't
used to
really
it.
love wearing a doggy sweater either, but
It's so
But
cute
you
though.
make them do it anyway.
So darn cute.
I know.